What up? Old Uncle Toot here with an ETH video for you. So I wouldn't have posted this and I wouldn't have posted a chart on this, but one of you guys on Twitter asked about it. By the way, real quick, I'm recording this way too late in the morning. It's almost 9 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. Kids are up, rambunctious, so I'm just gonna roll with it. I might pause and start it back up, so you might hear that happen. You might hear kids scream in the background. Sorry, this is what happens when you're rapidly approaching 40. Ugh. Anyway, so yeah, let's roll with it. I wouldn't have done ETH, but I did get a request there, and I like to, especially if you guys like, the Twitter stuff, and then you make a request for a chart that other people might be looking for. I like to accommodate, but this chart looks like trash. So kind of look at it like, ugh, not really something that I could post a high probability Elliott wave count on. And it's not a chart that I'm trading, right? Because I'm an Elliott wave trader. Maybe there's certain things that, lower degree, this probably trades quite nice. I can see that it does, but, on the low degree, it looks a lot like Bitcoin. That's just, if you're trading Bitcoin, why trade ETH? It's just, I'd rather trade a different alt or Bitcoin, which works better for me. So, if this chart for your analytics works better, then use this, right? But I like to focus on the things that are easy for me to trade, right? And things like this and XRP, not the easiest all the time. And if there's not like let's say a higher reward to be gained for the risk, then, which there isn't, then why bother? So there's that. That's why I don't post a lot of ETH. It's not really that, I hold ETH. I hope it does well, but I'm not looking to do a bunch of analysis on it. Because it's trash. And then this morning after that request, we were having a conversation, or the guys were having a conversation in the Discord, and one of our members, I'll shout you out, Fash, one of my homie for a long time, Fash Rav. He's a good, great analyst, great trader, has won Bybit trading competitions. This dude is legit, but he also likes to troll me, but he likes to not unintentionally troll me too, in that he likes to formulate a bias on charts with his other analysis techniques, and then he'll just toss an Elliott wave count on there to support his bias. He's very committed to these ideas, and he's just looking for things to commit to them to further support it. But then he doesn't use Elliott wave to make that, so he's trolling me a little bit. But it brought up a conversation of, he threw a count on this chart here today where he just put an X on all of this, and I think that's irresponsible, lazy, and just bias supporting, and I don't think you should do that. But it brought up a point to me of what people don't realize about Elliott wave, is that you can use uncertainty to your advantage. And there's uncertainty all the time. I've used the analogy in the past of, I'm just floating through the lake in a rowboat of fog, complete fog all right way around me, and I'm just seeing pockets of clarity within this fog to guide me, and I anchor on that clarity, and I don't make any assumptions about that fog, because sure, if I just blindly go into that fog, I might find a fucking pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, but I also might find Cerebus gonna bite my head off or something, right? So why take the risk? I'm not interested in that. I'd rather try to find things that I can anchor myself to. So this chart is trash, but we can anchor ourselves to some things. So I've already got some work up. I'll just go ahead and kill this and throw it back on there and tell you how I'm thinking about this when I'm looking at it, in case you care. Okay, first thing I see is that I see actionary, reactionary, actionary, reactionary, actionary. Now, why do I say that without looking at internal subwave structures within these? Well, because as we can see, and we'll get into depth, this is I'm trying to break it down with education. I know that this video will bomb because of that if I post it on Twitter, which I'll do anyway. I don't give a fuck. But as we can see, we sort of channel these. You can throw on Elliott wave channels to sort of really guide yourself, but let's just keep it to the basics of, this is all internal. This is all internal, and internal movement, external, internal, external, internal, external. Okay, if that's the case, and we're just keeping it really fucking simple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 waves in there. All right, that's interesting. So that's interesting, right? Because there's no world in which, and I won't even break down to the reasons why. There's no world in which this isn't so an Elliott wave. And obviously in this audience that I'm talking to, I'm expecting some level of, I probably do this too much. It's probably why I don't do very well, but I expect a level of understanding. Like most of you guys have probably been paying attention to Elliott wave for years now. So if you're brand new, I'm sorry. Anyway, maybe there's something for you here. There's no world in which you're going to get a valid motive wave out of this. There's also, if we're following these lines, a correction can never be 5 waves, right? So what does that tell you if it's corrective? It means that it would be unresolved. Now, well, what if we said that this is 535 and this is 5 ABC, so that could be a WXY? Well, there's a lot of reasons that's garbaggio. But I will always tell you, and if you hear me say this to one of your accounts, then you know that I'm generally thinking that it's trash, is that, could that happen? Is that possible? Sure. But I don't care about what's possible. And what you guys don't understand is I'm not sharing with you everything that's possible. Whenever I look at a chart, I see all of the different scenarios and I try to limit it to probable, right? And a lot of times I'm not even like giving you guys probable scenarios when I think that something has been assigned a value high enough to share as a probable expectation, right? Obviously you're either right or you're wrong. So why share everything that could give you wrong? I mean, I don't see the value in it, so I don't do that, right? But yeah, could that be the case? Could this be WXY? Sure, right? Because this is 5 and this is 5 and this isn't clearly 5. This could be 3 waves, right? Okay, but we have all kinds of guidelines and things that are fucked in that regard. Especially, let's just say even if we're in log, if we go out of log, if we do this base channel, minimum expectation is that the base channel created by the first actionary leg in a corrective should break out. So again, I'm not going to get into the intricacies of the details and why these things are trash and don't work. Suffice to say, the easiest thing to assign to this is air quote unfinished, and most likely unfinished, and on top of that, nothing highly probable. Okay, at this degree, probably unfinished, no real probable finished count here, right? Okay, so then on top of that, what we threw was, okay, well, let's just give ourselves like a nice little, where are some important levels? So that's why, I always like to think about the Wyckoff and things like that. So if we throw this on here, this was the bottom of the range, this was your top of the range, this comes back over to this sort of important area here. Get it right on there. Oh, look at that. Very important. Let's get it parallel. Okay. And then the top there. Boom. We wicked right into it. But we could really just throw, even better, throw a range on this. Like probably like a range like that. Right into the top of the range. So we found support. We respected support. All right. Terrific. Now, again, if we're going to try to rationalize this as a finished corrective to the upside, and this is something Fast Draft did. He said, oh, well, it was 90%. Well, it wasn't. And why would he say that? And this is where he actually used some Elliott wave in there, which was nice, because not that this has to be sideways, by the way. Like, that's sort of a fallacy in and of itself. But to resolve it as such, it comes to the 786, but not the 90, which I put 886 as fib, unless you switch it to log, which, when I'm thinking about minimum expectation for retracement. Oh, what happened there? Clicked the wrong thing. Kind of looks cool though. Anyway, minimum expectation for retracement levels. I don't give a fuck about log scale. I think that log scale is the most grossly overused thing at least by crypto analysts. I find it highly valuable, but I just think it's misused. Anyway, we didn't get to 90%, so it's not going to be sideways to me. So that even takes less certainty out of the equation, because if it is a downward move, it closes off all of the sideways, normal. Sometimes you'll see an 80% retracement in a sideways sort of style, and even a sharp style with such a deep retracement probably only creates a margin a little lower. None of that's really important, but it does close off some avenues of counts, which is, so we can use within the uncertainty, we can sort of anchor to some certainty. Okay, we can close off the sideways counts. All right, nice. But it could be, we could still have triangle and all that things, but again, unresolved here. So unresolved here, support, reaction, terrific. All right, so what do I see from the high? This looks like actionary, reactionary, actionary. So it looks like 3 waves from the high. Doesn't mean it's resolved, but with that, and then with the reaction, that indicates some sort of resolution, right? Okay, let's think about this some more. What could this be? This could be a motive wave. This from this perspective, although I think on Bitcoin we talked about it, there wasn't a valid diagonal here, so maybe we'll assume that there would not be in this regard either. Actually, it looks like it would probably have the same issue. Go back to the Bitcoin video. So we'll just call it 3, 3, and then so we could expect maybe there's going to be another leg down. I'll give you that with sort of maybe. Honestly, though, this is the way that looks. This was such let's say that's a very sharp reaction. But I mean, the subwave structure in here is just such trash, but maybe we would do something like this potentially before to finish a motive to the downside. If it was going to be a flat, ABC flat, zigzag, or not zigzag, flat. Okay, sure. That I would say that this is a decent chance of that. And in fact, we were sort of in the Bitcoin video, if you're following along, I was expecting that. However, now we've retraced, we're almost overlapping here, right? So it's sort of, it's not the right look for impulse. Could still happen. So you get non-standard looking things all the time, right? But I like to focus on standard because that's like the things you see the most. Means that you sort of have the probable expectation of that to happen again. I don't sit here and project for some wild shit that you don't see that much. What's the point? So that I can be right. So that I can fucking say, hey, I see, guys, I showed you it was this fucking backflip XY double XZ. I don't care about that. I'm going to try to show you the most simple thing every time. So there you go. So same with Bitcoin. With this reaction, the idea of another leg down goes down. Now, if we get super low down here, we'll go 15 minute, I would imagine. Yeah. So this kind of looks weird, right? It looked like a zigzag finishing up. This looks just like Bitcoin. Shocker. This is why would I trade this when I can trade Bitcoin? It just looks like Bitcoin, just uglier. Anyway, one thing that this is, so that's kind of nice on ETH here, actually. I saw this on another chart as well. So we had what was a potential 3-way finishing up here. And this is, I've been looking at Bitcoin at this degree, so I'm kind of haven't analyzed this particular chart here. But what happened is that we had a potential resolution, and instead of beginning the next actionary leg down, right? So we always want to use the most current information. At this point right here, had I been long, I would have sold. Had a Bitcoin long, sold there. Why? Because of the way I trade Bitcoin, which you can join the Discord if you want to talk about that, or the way I trade this theory. But we, instead of like getting actionary to the downside, this in fact looks corrective. And even so much more so, did we make a new high? Oh, it challenged the previous high, but this is, oops, no, it's just an arrow when I wanted the polyline. Okay, looks like it's more of a 3, 3, come down here, 5 to the downside, flat. Now, a sideways corrective here, so this would be a 1, 2, 1, 2. I'm not going to label it but you know, essentially, we can use. So, by the way, if we see a sideways style in here, which is this is like a typical sideways, we could throw in like our RSI. Let's see. No, nothing. Big giveaway there, but yeah, it would be a sign of strength of underlying trend. We wouldn't really want to break, but of course is ETH, so it's trash. So I'm focusing more on Bitcoin. We really wouldn't want to break below this channel. So even though down here, that starts to get hairy, but on charts like this, that kind of stuff happens. But basically, so what we've seen here is that, okay, from this degree, we have uncertainty. We always have uncertainty. But from here, it looks pretty certain that this is relatively corrective. So you could potentially take an opportunity at this degree. And then out here, let's just go to the bigger degree again. At this degree, well, actually, let's go all the way out. First, we see that the most likely thing we see here is unresolved, right? Meaning that we would need at least one more action. Oh, look at that, an ad. Ad on my YouTube music in the background. That unresolved to the upside, meaning that we should get some sort of leg to the upside. Well, what's happened since then? Well, we had a corrective looking retracement, a sucker wave up that challenged the high, which is typically like a sideways, like an X or a B, right? Typically X, we call it X, which it is because that's normally your sucker wave. So if that's an X, then we would expect 3 down out of it. We had 3 into support area with major reaction. Okay, so maybe this being unresolved means that there's another leg to the high. We see more information here that supports, oh, this could have another leg coming after, and then more information here. And then on the lower time frame, we see even more information. Oh, this could be going further. So it's like, while there's a lot of uncertainty and this chart isn't the best, like you should be able to use the theory on your side to challenge that, like use the uncertainty in your favor, whether it be to take no action or to, I'm just not going to consider this part of the chart right now, but I have enough clarity over here. So if you didn't even consider any of this and you just considered this 3-wave down, that this is most likely something that you would maybe even expect to resolve in 3 waves, then that would give you the indication you could have long down here. And then, you know, obviously this move off the low isn't the greatest, but all of those things together tell me that this move down here, I should have at least, you know, let's say that we were going to get corrective and that we'd have a sideways out of here. I should at least challenge this high so that I can have a sort of a bias into there, you know, and then it works with different scales and degrees. So, you know, I don't think you should just slap an Elliott wave count on a chart just to say, hey, this thing fits. Nah, you know, if it fits your other, you know, if you're doing other analysis, just, you know, put your price expectations on there. You don't need to put an Elliott wave count unless you're doing Elliott wave work. And if you're doing Elliott wave work, stop worrying about trying to be fucking right and worry about just applying the theory and focus on how the fact that you don't know everything can actually work on your side. All right, that's it. Toot out.